Today's lesson is Cotton and Consequences. World Cotton Day shines a light on this convenient cloth. Hi, everybody. My name is Roger.
And I'm Mike.
And today is World Cotton Day, October 7th, so it's time to celebrate cotton. I think we need to take a hard look at cotton. And last time we left off when we were talking about the fact that cotton is very water hungry, and the Aral Sea in Central Asia has pretty much disappeared because they're using the water to grow cotton. So I think we all need to be aware of that. I think we also need to be aware of fast fashion, which produces lots of clothing that people just throw away, and most of fast fashion items are made from cotton.
So yes, definitely an industry and a material that is so common but has a very large and very heavy expense environmentally. And today we're going to be looking at more of the social aspects of the cotton industry, and specifically some of the abuse that is seen in that industry with farmers and the people who pick the cotton and process the cotton. So let's get into our article and find out more about the true costs of cotton.
Cotton production provides an income to nearly 7% of workers in developing countries. However, this huge workforce can experience long work hours, unsafe conditions, and limited workers' rights. That's because many cotton farmers are too small-scale to engage directly with big clothing companies, so they have to sell their crops through middlemen. Companies push the middlemen for lower prices, and that pressure gets transferred on to the producers. Consequently, farmers often struggle to cover basic needs. In the worst cases, forced or child labor is used to keep costs down.
大家好，第一部分介绍名词 workforce， 它的意思是劳动人口或是劳动力。例如 Older workers are now a significant part of the global workforce. 年长劳工是现在全球劳动人口的重要一员。或者 Automation has reduced the need for a large workforce. 自动化减少了对大量劳动力的需求。接下来看到动词 transfer， 表示转移或是调动。例如 You can transfer the data from your old phone to a new one with this app. 你可以用这个应用程式把资料从你的旧手机转移到新手机。或是 The old books will be transferred from the library to the warehouse. 那些旧书将从图书馆被移至仓库。
Okay, here in the first paragraph today it says, Cotton production provides an income to nearly 7% of workers in developing countries.
Wow.
So you might be thinking, well, if cotton is so bad for the environment, let's stop wearing cotton and start wearing other kinds of cloth like linen and hemp and polyester or whatever. But what about all these people who work in the cotton industry? What are they supposed to do without a job? 7% of workers in developing countries work in cotton production. They work in the fields. They pick the cotton. Cotton is processed in factories. It's produced into clothing. Lots of people work at jobs doing just those very things.
Absolutely. But of course, those people are often at the lower end of the economic and social scale, so they are more susceptible or more open to abuse. And that seems to be what happens. It says, however, so sure, it provides a livelihood, provides jobs for 7% of people in developing countries, in the poorer countries in the world, but this huge workforce can experience long work hours, unsafe conditions, and limited workers' rights. Yesterday we were talking about some of the human rights abuses in the cotton industry, and these are some specific examples of that abuse. It's a huge workforce. The workforce is just the number of people working in a job. We could talk about a company's workforce. This is a big company. We have 40,000 workers all over the world, 4,000 staff members from the stores to head office, administration, all that kind of stuff. A smaller workforce could be, a few hundred people working for a smaller local company, but basically that's just the employees, the number of people who work or have jobs in that company. So these people can experience long work hours. No one ever said that working in a farming is an easy job, and often you get up early, you go to bed late, and you have a lot of hard work in between. So it's a tough job. They work in unsafe conditions. They're working out in the fields under the hot sun, things like that. So so it's not exactly a comfortable and easy job to have. And of course, people can get injured and have all sorts of physical problems after doing it. I know from reading stories from long ago that cotton workers are always bending over in the fields because they have to bend down to pick up the cotton. Imagine bending down in a field for 8 hours a day, picking cotton off a plant. So that would be a tough job. And limited workers' rights. We've seen this with poor workers. They're being abused by their bosses. They're getting very low pay. They're working extra long hours, and there's very little protection for them.
And they suffer workplace accidents and things like that, and they probably don't have medical coverage. And that's because many cotton farmers are too small scale to engage directly with big clothing companies, so they have to sell their crops through middlemen. So most cotton farmers are small scale. That means they're just a local family farm somewhere. It's a very small operation. And so they don't get to engage directly with big clothing companies. Okay, to engage here or to engage with just means to be active with something, to work together, to cooperate with big clothing companies. They have to use middlemen. They can't just sell their product directly to the companies and have the benefits from the big companies. They have to go through middlemen, which are people that are between the big companies and the small farmers.
That's right. Agents, in other words, that might buy the cotton from different farms all around the world and then sell it in bulk in large amounts to the big clothing companies, the big fashion companies. And of course, those companies want to pay as little as possible for the cotton they're using to make their clothes, so the clothing companies make more profit. So, as it says, companies push the middlemen for lower prices, and that pressure gets transferred on to the producers. So the big companies don't want to pay that much. They make the middlemen sell them cotton at the lowest price possible. So the middlemen then go out and offer the farmers the lowest price possible. We've seen this in many industries. One of the more well-known is the coffee industry, right? Certain coffee chains say, oh, we make sure to pay our farmers a good wage, unlike those big coffee companies that push the price down, so that those farmers are working really hard and making very, very little profit at the end of the day, even though they're doing the bulk of the hard, dangerous work. So that pressure, that need, that demand for low prices gets transferred, gets moved on or pushed on or moved over to the producers. When you transfer, it's kind of like you're shifting or moving something from A to B. If you're standing on the bus, you might transfer your phone from one hand to the other, move it from your left hand to your right hand so that your left hand can hold on to something. You might transfer also at an airport. We often use this when we're talking about flying to Hong Kong and then going to another airplane that will take us on to our final destination. We're not reaching that final destination, but we're going through the process of going from one place to another with a few steps in between. So this gets shifted or pushed onto the producers, or so consequently, because of that, the farmers, these small little family farms and whatnot, they often struggle to cover basic needs. They can't afford to pay their workers very much. They can't afford modern equipment, so the work is harder and harder. And of course, the amount of money they're actually able to take home at the end of the day for their own life is very, very low. And it says in the worst cases of worker abuse in the cotton business, forced or child labor is used to keep costs down. Forced labor is kind of a modern version of slavery. We're making you do something and paying you either nothing or very, very little, much less than you should be paid. Or even better, hey, let's find a bunch of children to do the job. Oh my gosh. This, of course, is illegal. This should not be tolerated. They try to stamp it out as much as possible. But again, if you're in the cotton field in the middle of Kazakhstan or something like that, it's going to be very hard to find people around who are protecting these vulnerable workers, all in the aid of getting cheap cotton to the stores.
Yep, these are some things we should all realize in terms of growing cotton for World Cotton Day today. And we'll continue talking about cotton now in the next paragraph. Let's listen first and then we'll talk about it.
These issues may seem difficult to change, but as consumers, our choices can make a difference. Organizations like Fair Trade International and Better Cotton help people identify products that meet environmental and labor standards. However, such items tend to be more expensive, so here's a second tip. Shop less and shop smarter. Avoid blindly following fashion trends and instead invest in pieces you'll wear repeatedly.
第二部分看到名词 consumer 指消费者或是顾客。例如 As a smart consumer, Rob always compares prices before buying. 作为聪明的消费者 Rob 在购买前总是会比价。也可以说Many consumers prefer to spend their money on experiences rather than material items. 许多消费者比较喜欢把钱花在体验上，而不是物质上。接着介绍动词 invest， 表示投资或是投入。我们可以说I'd like to offer you an excellent opportunity to invest in my business. 我想提供你一个投资我生意的绝佳机会。又或者说Millions of fans around the world are invested in the outcome of the championship game. 全球各地数百万的粉丝都投入关注这场冠军赛的结果。
So we're talking about these issues or these concerns, these problems of cotton, and these issues are difficult to change. It seems like it would be difficult to change the situation, but as consumers, as people who buy and use these products, our choices can make a difference. Okay, so we should all be aware of this. It's probably easy to say, well, that's not our problem. Okay, I want to pay $100 NT for a nice t-shirt. I don't care what the companies are doing to farmers in Central Asia. Okay, I just want a cheap shirt. But we should all kind of realize that, hey, our choices can make a difference in the lives of people all over the world.
There you go. So what can we do about this? How can we do even just a little bit to try to help those workers and, make sure that the cotton business is sort of either forced to change or we end up just not using their products because we disagree with their practices? Well, it says organizations like Fair Trade International and Better Cotton. So these are two organizations, probably charities in some kind of way. Well, these organizations help people identify products that meet environmental and labor standards. You can buy cotton that is produced in a moral and ethically correct way, that doesn't abuse farmers, that doesn't abuse the earth. And these organizations can help you identify, help find those products, either the companies that do it or the types of products that are produced in better ways, in healthier and nicer ways. To identify is basically to point out something and say that is what it is. You identify your friends by how they look. You might identify someone you know by the sound of their voice. And if you look at something and you know what it is, or you can find something, that is basically what we're talking about here. So they can help us find these products that have higher standards. They meet environmental and labor standards. They're not abusing workers or the earth in their cotton production methods.
Yeah, the items of clothing might have a special sticker on them to indicate that they're safe to buy, that people were not abused in the process of making this particular garment. Or maybe special kinds of clothing stores or chains might sell clothes that are made from cotton that's produced fairly for people around the world. So yeah, they help people be aware of these things. However, such items tend to be more expensive. So here's a second tip: shop less and shop smarter. Okay, so yes, indeed, of course, we don't want to pay more money. Of course, such an item of clothing that is produced fairly is going to cost more money. Okay, and who wants to spend more money, especially when we're trying to look our best and all our friends and coworkers and classmates are buying new clothes every day and they look so great and we're wearing the same clothes all the time. I don't want to spend a lot of money on clothes, but I want to have more clothes. But we need to be smart about buying clothes. We should shop less and shop smarter. So yeah, don't buy so many clothes that you don't really need, and be smarter about it. Make better selections.
That's absolutely right. Here's a very good tip: avoid blindly following fashion trends and instead invest in pieces you'll wear repeatedly. Absolutely. Yeah, don't follow fashion trends. Avoid those fast fashion places, or if you do go to them, that's fine, but don't throw the shirt away or whatever after 6 months because, it's not cool to wear purple anymore, so I have to get rid of all my purple clothes I bought last year or something. Don't follow those trends. Instead of doing that, invest in pieces you'll wear repeatedly. Find some good standard quality clothes. Make sure you keep them in nice condition, and then you'll be able to wear them for many, many years. Your wardrobe will always be interesting because you can mix and match things. But really, if you have some of these standard pieces, 2 or 3 shirts, a couple of pairs of pants, some sweaters, mix and match stitch them into different outfits, you'll find that you don't need a lot of clothing. So when you invest in something, you put your money into something that is a wise decision. It will either protect your money will grow, you won't be wasting your money. If we invest in our education, you're going to school, you're getting a good education to hopefully have a better job and a better future, so we can invest money, but also other things. You invest time in your children by teaching them and raising them to be good people. So invest in pieces. When we say a piece, in this case, it's just an item of clothing. We could say invest in clothing. We could also list out things, invest in shirts, pants, socks, and jackets or whatever, but a piece is just an item of something. So invest in clothing or items of clothing you'll wear again and again and again, year after year, so you're not always buying more clothes, wasting the money, and of course using much more cotton than you really need to. Very good tip in many different ways.
It is a very good tip, and I don't need to be told this because I've basically been wearing the same clothes for the past 20 years, and nobody seems to notice. Okay, that brings us to the end of the second part of our lesson for today. Here comes the third and final part.
By choosing quality over quantity and supporting ethical brands, you can help ensure that each item in your closet influences the cotton industry for the better. And if anyone questions your minimalist wardrobe, simply explain your commitment to sustainable fashion.
第三部分看到形容词 ethical， 意思是合乎道德的。例如 The journalist faced an ethical dilemma when asked to reveal her sources. 这位记者被要求透露自己的消息来源时，他面临了道德两难。再看一个例子 There are lots of ethical concerns about the collection of personal information by tech companies. 科技公司收集个人资讯存在许多道德问题。接着看到 minimalist 这个单字，它是形容词，指的是极简的。可以说 The minimalist interior designer preferred simple furniture pieces. 那位极简派的室内设计师偏好简单的家居物件。也可以说Susan decorated her home in a clean and minimalist style. Susan 以干净极简的风格布置自己的家。最后看到名词 commitment， 它的意思是承诺、投入或是忠诚。例如 The company's commitment to environmental protection can be seen in its eco-friendly products. 该公司对环保的承诺可从其环境友善的产品中看出。最后一个例子Martin has shown great commitment to his studies by spending hours on homework every day. Martin 每天花数小时在功课上，展现出他对课业的投入。
Okay, we're wrapping up this article talking about World Cotton Day by choosing quality over quantity and supporting ethical brands. You can help ensure that each item in your closet influences the cotton industry for the better. Okay, we're talking about ethical brands. Ethical just means having to do with what is right and what is wrong. You need to choose the good things in life and not the bad things. So if you have good ethics on the job, for example, you don't try to cheat people. You don't lie to them about the price of products and things like that. You're ethical. You do what you think is right. And yes, by being ethical or choosing ethical brands, you can help ensure that all the items in your closet will improve the cotton industry for the better, or it will improve the cotton industry and not so many people will be exploited.
There you go. And if anyone questions your minimalist wardrobe, simply explain your commitment to sustainable fashion. So if any of your friends or something say, hey, you're always wearing that shirt, or how come you only seem to have 2 pairs of pants? That's your minimalist wardrobe. Something minimalist is sort of the lowest amount required or the lowest amount possible. When we talk about a minimalist lifestyle, you might not have a lot of things in your home. You don't shop very much. You don't buy many things. You don't throw away many things. You like to keep things simple and small and very limited in number. So a minimalist wardrobe will have just a few things in it, useful things, but not a huge amount of clothing. And a wardrobe is kind of your collection of clothing. It could be a piece of furniture. Sometimes people call a closet or a cupboard or something like that a wardrobe where you keep your clothes. But we're also just talking about the collection of clothes you have at home for your personal use to wear every day. So have a small, simple wardrobe or a small, simple collection of clothing. And if anyone complains about it, you can say, well, I do it because I have a commitment to sustainable fashion. I am sort of very focused and very dedicated to something. A commitment is when you put time and effort and energy into something because you think it's important to you. Marriage is a commitment. A friendship is a commitment. When you join a club or a team, you have to be there on time when the team needs you or when the club is in session. In order to do it, you have to give up things. It's important to you, so you invest or you commit yourself to doing that, and you're committing yourself in this way. You're showing that it's important for you to have sustainable fashion that doesn't waste the environment, that doesn't abuse the environment or people in its production, because you want it to last for a long time and be beneficial, not be harmful to the people or the land.
Okay, there you have it, some information about cotton, and maybe you can consider making some changes in your wardrobe yourself. Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation. Here comes Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第2部分提到 These issues may seem difficult to change, but as consumers, our choices can make a difference. 这些问题看似难以改变，但身为消费者，我们的选择可以发挥影响力。这边有2个重点。首先，连缀动词 seem 它表示似乎好像，我们这边要整理它的常见用法。第一个可以用到 seem 加上形容词，例如 Amy seemed upset this morning.Amy 今天早上似乎不开心。第二个可以用到 seem to 加原形动词，像是 Everyone seemed to enjoy the show. 大家似乎都很喜欢这场表演。那要注意，如果把动词的部分改成完成式，写作 seem to have 加 pp， 这则是表示似乎已经怎么样，用来指动作或事情已经完成。例如 The problem seems to have been solved. 那个问题似乎已经解决了。第3个句型是 It seems that 主词加动词，例如 It seems that Dave is the right person for the job. Dave 似乎是那份工作的最佳人选。好，那第4个用法可以用到 seem like 加名词或接子句，例如 It seems like she's determined to win. 她似乎有必胜的决心。好，那第5个我们可以用 seem as if 或者是 as though 加上主词加动词，例如 When they first met,It seemed as if they had known each other for a long time. 他们初次见面时，仿佛已经认识彼此很久了。好，另外一个重点是要介绍 make a difference， 这是表达有重要影响，产生改变，常常用来指好的正向的改变影响。那可以加上 big、a lot of, much, little, small, no 等等去描述影响的程度。我们看2个例句。The rain made very little difference to us. 意思是下雨对我们几乎没有什么影响。另外一个例句是 Sometimes a little help can make a big difference. 有时候小小的帮助可以造成大大的影响。好，那课文第3部分他提到，透过选择品质而非数量和支持符合道德规范的品牌，你可以帮助确保你衣柜里的每一件衣物都影响棉花产业变得更好。文中他用到For the better 是表达改善，朝好的方向发展，常常会搭配 change 或者是 turn 来使用，像是 change something for the better 是表达使某事变得更好，或者是也可以用 take a turn for the better， 这是表达往更好的情况转变发展。例如 His health has taken a turn for the better， 他的健康状况已经有好转了。好，那以上是今天重点整理，我们来回顾今天的单字吧。
Transfer. I need to transfer the data from my computer to my phone. Consumer. The new advertisements aim to attract more consumers to the brand. Identify. The problem needs to be identified first before it can be fixed. Invest. I play golf all the time, so I invested in a good set of clubs. Ethical. It is important to treat animals in an ethical way. Commitment.Martin has shown great commitment to his studies by spending hours on homework every day. Sustainable. The farmer practices sustainable farming methods to protect the environment.
Discussion Starter starts now!
It's time now for our discussion starter, and the question is, has this article made you reconsider your shopping habits? Why or why not?
Well, I'd say my shopping habits will probably remain the same, as I have a fairly minimalist wardrobe, I think like you were saying as well, and I don't really like clothing shopping, to be honest with you. So often I go out every year or two, I buy a few things, and then I wear them for quite a while.
I'm the same way, but this has kind of made me reconsider my shopping habits because a long time ago I thought that maybe I should stop wearing so much polyester and start wearing more environmentally friendly fabrics like linen or hemp, but my goodness, where the heck in Taiwan can I buy hemp garments that are big enough for me? Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Roger.
I am Mike.
See you next time.